Y Radio Podcasts. Y Radio Podcasts are produced by students from Waiheke High School Media Studies. For more information on our show, check us out at www.waihekeradio.org.nz/yradio. Usually we talk about youth events, but this week we've got a little bit something a little bit different. We've also got William here. Say hello, William.
Hello.
And Ashton. I can't even remember how we came up with this
Godbout. Yeah.
It was Godbout's idea?
Godbout came in and we asked him for ideas, and then he told us about the Fiji meth. AIDS. And
Holly is here, but she's too afraid to come on the station. Yeah. She thinks it was her idea.
It was her idea and Godbout's idea.
The reason we got William in here is because William is going to Fiji. So what we're going to talk about was this news story.
I might not be after the segment.
After this, about how Fiji is kind of turned into this. Ashton, you had this great. You said that Fiji is potentially turning into like a narco state.
Yeah, it's called a semi-narcostate, which is like a term used for area of land. I googled it this morning. An area of land or a country that is run by drug lords.
What the news story was that I'd heard was that there's a huge meth problem in Fiji.
Yes.
And that as a result of this meth problem, there's now an AIDS problem in Fiji, which I didn't quite see the connection, but you pointed out that...
Yeah, I read an article. It was, I don't know where I read the article, but that the most popular way of using the meth is via needles. So right. That's where the AIDS comes in. But the meth problem in Fiji has been happening for like 5 years now, 5-6 years. But the AIDS has got real bad.
Since the meth has been an issue. How would you describe the extent of this problem in Fiji?
Well, some people have said that it's a nation of zombies.
That's what the president or the prime minister said it was going to be cool.
Yeah, a nation of zombies. I haven't actually seen like actual numbers.
Yeah.
But I think it is like, their hospital is overwhelmed with AIDS and people on meth. They don't have like rehabilitation centers like most other countries do because it's third world. So it's.
Is it?
Yeah. There's one hospital there. Right. And that hospital has not got the right equipment to deal with the AIDS and the meth.
And so William is going to Fiji in the next school holidays. When did you find out about this story, William?
I found out when you guys brought it up, and then I was just like, well, it can't be that bad. And then Ashton said something about it being like a drug lord-run state, and now I'm very reluctant to go.
So what are you nervous about? I mean, you think it's the potential violence that comes across with the drug? Surely you're going to be like tucked away in like
some big resort,
white person's paradise or something. What? Yeah. It's not like you're going to be, in a hotel in downtown Suva or something.
Yeah. There is like a Holly should be on the show.
I know,
but Holly said that there's like a resort in Fiji where there's like a bridge, and then most people just are in the resort and not in like the rest of Fiji.
Oh, so yeah, I mean you're sort of and you had talked a little bit on the way over here that in other states where this has happened, like in some places in Mexico, there's still tourism, but it's just like heavily
in one place
guarded,
and there's just like military outside the.
Yeah, I think the vibe might be killed with tucked away behind like 50 guys with AKs,
Yeah.
Yeah, you go swimming now. I mean, when I think of Fiji, I think that possibly a huge part of I would imagine that a massive part of their economy was tourism.
Yeah.
So it's probably not great for that. I mean, there'd be a lot of people like, even just like William, who are like, sort of almost having slightly second thoughts about, William, presumably your parents and stuff had already organized this trip before you heard about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if they didn't, they might have thought, oh, well, let's go to Raro instead.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's my dad was thinking about that actually. He's like, I haven't ordered the tickets yet. Maybe you want to change it up. Or
So what are you thinking?
I've been to Raro. Raro's nice.
Yeah, I've been to Raro too. I like Raro.
Yeah. thinking.
I've been to Fiji too a long time ago.
How was it then?
Oh,
A long time ago. Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, I think I was quite young, and I seem to remember that we were on one of those resorts. But I seem to remember that we were. It was a lot more like a kind of a hustle, you know, like everyone's trying to hustle you for something
Yeah.
in the main city center, and then but then when you went to the actual tourist place, you were out. But you know, which is kind of what I like about Raro. Like no one really hustles you in Raro.
No.
It's just like hey, you're here. Okay, I'm here too. Tell us a little bit more about the kind of who's running all this meth in Fiji.
It's because of deportation laws in countries like America, Australia, and New Zealand. If they deport people back to their country after they've served their prison sentence here, and so all these people who have been arrested for drug crimes in America, mainly America, get deported back to Fiji, and then they have those connections to thing, and then they just start selling it locally and then they get the imports to import it to Australia and New Zealand, which are the two biggest markets of methamphetamine.
So where does the methamphetamine come from before it gets to Fiji?
From what I know, which is probably not a lot, they cook it in Fiji in big warehouses, as well as in some places in Asia.
But they don't have the raw product, do they? Presumably they're getting that from somewhere else.
It just all come in on boats, because the way they do it
from China
and Mexico and Colombia and.
So is it like these Chinese/Mexican, are those kind of cartels, are they behind this in the first place?
Well, that's what it seems to be like.
So actually, Fiji, I was going to say Suva, I guess, but Fiji is just kind of this weird hub for it. And you said, and I heard this too on the news, that I was like 3 tons or 5 tons or something that got discovered was enough meth to supply the entire Australia and New Zealand market for a year, and that's their biggest market.
That's crazy.
Yeah, our country and Australia has one of the biggest markets for meth, and I think what was happening is they had heaps and heaps and heaps of meth, like the 3 tons, and then they just hold it in Fiji, and then they drip feed it to Australia and New Zealand to keep the prices high, so they keep making heaps of money.
Right, yeah. How far, William? Do you have any idea how long it actually takes you to get to Fiji from New Zealand?
Like 2 hours.
2 hours.
2, 3, 4 hours.
So that's probably not even a huge boat ride.
Yeah, well, they have underwater caches where they put the thing in, and they have pictures, because the meth that has been seized has have pictures of water buffalo on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that's from, but they have pictures of water buffalo on it.
It's probably Asia, water buffalo, I think.
Yeah,
it's
just
kind of an Asian thing.
Yeah, and they're all just in these plastic wrap containers, and you'll take boat out, drop it, and then coordinates, and then someone else goes and gets it and brings it back.
That's like GPS type thing.
Yeah.
So pretty sophisticated stuff. There doesn't seem to be a lot of political will as well in Fiji to really get on top of this. There was, we were wondering whether the Fijian government was actually sort of complicit in this thing. It's sort of big enough but that's just speculation.
Yeah. There's, I don't know, I feel like they could have something to do with it, but there's also some people in the government who have come out and said that they need more support from other countries to sort the problem out, because their hospitals and their infrastructure is so overwhelmed with the amount of meth and
AIDS
children.
It's kind of almost rare when you hear about AIDS these days. Like, you used to hear about it a lot, like when I was young.
Yeah, AIDS did indeed fall off.
Because you can treat HIV with drugs and things like that, and people are a lot more aware of, like, sexual health and stuff like that. But it was kind of surprising to hear that that there was an AIDS problem in Fiji, and I thought meth was something that people smoked majority of, but apparently it sounds like they're actually shooting it in Fiji. I suppose it also belies a little bit of a problem in that, these things are always supply and demand, right? So if New Zealand and Australia are out there like gobbling up 5 tons of meth, we're part of the problem.
We are.
We're most certainly part of the problem, yeah.
That is what it comes down to, is that there is the supply, with the demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how, I mean, we always hear that meth is kind of like a problem in New Zealand and stuff like that. But personally, I don't see it. But I'm fairly insular in my. I don't really go outside of Waiheke that often.
To be fair, we are literally the most gated community of all time. We're literally surrounded by water.
Yeah.
But people do talk about a meth problem on Waiheke as well. That there are pockets of meth on the island and stuff. So, but it's it does surprise me that we're actually consuming that much. Like,
I think heaps of meth gets cut into other drugs to make the other drugs more addictive, and so they can make more money off the drug.
But there was a documentary on meth by like Paddy Gower maybe like a year ago now. And one of the things that was surprising to me about that documentary is that in my head, I had this image that meth users were like, your teeth are falling out, you're like all scratchy, and you're basically wandering around like trying to like find enough money for your next hit. Like that was kind of in my head, that was a meth user. But what Paddy kind of showed out in this documentary was that there's all these like functional meth users. They're like lawyers, and they're like, they're professionals who have an addiction, but they manage to hide it from people, and it just kind of ticks along. It doesn't get to that point where they're like, scratching skin off their face and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which was a surprise to me, It means that there could be a lot more people using meth than are completely obvious.
Yeah, I think that is why it's not that noticeable, especially around here and everywhere in the country. I think is because there are just people who are on it who don't look like they're on meth, but they're probably on meth.
Don't do meth, kids. William, you're not going to do meth when you go to Fiji, are you?
Well, I certainly hope not.
No, we would hope not either.
The sad thing is the kids that are doing meth in Fiji.
That is just unbelievable. Kids.
I read something last night when I was looking into it, that the kids like teenagers are buying more meth than they are buying weed.
What?
In Fiji, and meth has become more popular than weed. Which is insane.
That's insane, eh? It so like goes against this kind of like picture that you have of like, the South Pacific, these islands, you go there and there's
come relax on the beach, have a good time, go in the pool,
I mean, this is not even mentioning that we also have, it's a completely different topic, but in New Caledonia right now, you have practically, massive amounts of violence going on in New Caledonia, which is a huge tourist destination for New Zealanders, and it's falling apart at the moment with a sort of a beginning of a potential revolution in a way. So, but maybe we leave that one. But it's kind of like another South Pacific island that's struggling with something. Yeah, it's a little bit out of our
range.
Topic,
but I'm just worried that my potential holiday might get turned into, relax by the pool. And so don't go into the pool. There's a Band-Aid in it. Could have AIDS. Stay out of the water.
Hopefully not. I mean, I think if it was me, it would make me think, I'm going to Rarotonga.
I'd rather go to Rarotonga than Fiji.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Y Radio Podcasts. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app and check us out online at www.waihekeradio.org.nz/yradio.